Greetings and welcome. I love iodine with another video on intestinal parasites. This video is going to be discussing the so-called human ropeworm. Before we get started, I'll make the disclaimer that there are some graphic pictures of so-called ropeworms that are excreted from people, and they are rather disgusting to look at. So if you are sensitive to that, be mindful of that. I will try to give a warning before I go to any of the websites, but in case I make a mistake, just keep that in mind. Also, I also want to claim that there is no such thing as a human ropeworm. As we shall see, it is actually just the product of your own body. In fact, what has occurred is how they discovered it is a person who had a patent on a particular type of enema using eucalyptus leaves and lemon juice, had administered these to people, these enemas, and out came the human ropeworm. Well, if you know anything about acidic mediums like lemon juice and eucalyptus leaves, they actually will eat through your skin and exfoliate. Lemons are very good at taking the rough spots off your elbows and knees. So they are doing enemas that actually are retained for a very long time, anywhere from 15 minutes to 2 hours. Yes, 2 hours. I'm not sure how that's possible, but I guess anything is. And the one for the lemon juice is actually using 200 milliliters of lemon juice, which is equivalent to almost 7 ounces. Of course, that's diluted in water. I think they're using it up to a 2-quart solution, but that is still a very strong acid. Of course, what that's doing is causing an irritation in the colon, the large intestine, and what it's doing is forming mucus. The body's trying to protect itself from this actually aggravating agent. And then what has occurred is the mucus and the lining of the intestinal tract are shed. And of course, any feces that's in there is going to be encapsulated in that tube. So what comes out, of course, is going to look like a ropeworm, if you will. And these people, as foolish as they are, claim that this is in fact a parasite. It is not. They did test it for the genetic sequencing, and they found out that it was human DNA. Well, of course it is. It is the intestinal tract. So anyway, I just want to make one other comment. How I decided to make this video was I was listening to a health talk, like a health summit this week, and there was a few presenters that were discussing parasites in regards to Lyme disease. Like, is there a connection? And then one of the presenters was talking about a new herb that he was using called Mimosa pudina, I do believe is how it's pronounced. I wasn't familiar with it, so I did some research on it. And it turns out that this herb is a little on the questionable side for use as an anti-parasitic agent. In fact, it has anti-fertility effects, which is great if you're trying not to get pregnant, but there's definitely should be a warning on the website that if you are pregnant or trying to get pregnant, this is definitely not the herb for you. Also, this herb has not been used historically for parasites, even though there are some claims that it is beneficial for a type of roundworm. But it's also high in a lot of things like oxalates, which can be very bad for somebody who has kidney issues. And it also is a diuretic and has other health effects. So these warnings need to be listed, and it appears that they're not. Looking more at this presenter's website, which I will not give the name of the presenter, there's a lot of falsehoods on the website where things are not accurately described, calling tannins a form of iodine. That is not true. And also, actually, his program and protocol shows all these testimonials of people that are excreting this human ropeworm. He actually genuinely believes or claims to believe that this is a type of parasite. Of course, what he's doing is aggravating the intestinal tract and causing expulsion. There have been cases where this issue has caused bleeding, as one would expect when you're dealing with agents such as lemon juice, eucalyptic leaves, and you're supposed to be doing these enemas daily for a week or longer. Eventually, you are actually going to cause tears in the intestinal tract and, of course, bleeding. And these researchers, I use that term very loosely, then go on to say that it's the blood was caused from these ropeworms releasing, and that's absolutely not true. So warning out there to anybody, if you're doing a parasite cleanse and you're getting a lot of mucus and a lot of things, you could be maybe going a little too hard. I do a lot of things like with bromelain, which is from pineapple, and digestive enzymes, proteolytic, and I definitely keep an eye on that and make sure that I am not actually irritating my intestinal tract too much and causing any things. You do not want any tears in your gut. You are leaving yourself open as an opening in your body for bacteria from your colon to go right into your bloodstream, and that can cause some serious health issues and infections. Anyway, that's just the background, and let's get started. First off, we're going to go to the CDC's website, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I'll be putting all the links in the description box. I'll also put the links for the WHO as well, so you can go out there and do their search engine and look for ropeworms. Good luck, you will find absolutely nothing. Just like you'll find absolutely zero on the CDC websites, because the experts at the CDC and at the World Health Organization are very educated and informed about parasites, having a lot of very well-respected parasitologists working there, and they have no information because this does not exist. So we'll go to the Parasites A-Z Index. We'll look up R for ropeworm. There's absolutely nothing, as we can see, and you can actually look under H for human ropeworm, and as we see, there's absolutely nothing. And if we go to F, which is how we would do the Latin, which I can't pronounce it, but I will be writing it down in the description, we see that it's actually not here as well. But there's some other parasitic infections here, and if you're interested, the CDC does have a great website with respect to having lots of great information. They could be a little bit better on the symptoms, but again, that's my personal opinion. I personally had parasites, so I know a little bit more about the symptoms that one would experience than maybe somebody who hasn't actually personally experienced it. Anyway, so we are finished with the CDC site, so I'll close out of that. And we are going to go to the Global Healing Center. This is a website that is run by Dr. Edward Group, who definitely knows a lot about genetically modified foods. So if you want information on that, I definitely think that he is a great resource. But I think he's missing the target on the ropeworms. He does go in the article and say that it's speculation, that they really don't know what it is. But if you are someone who's in a hurry and you read the first paragraph, you might think that these actually are something that's real. So we'll just kind of read through this really quickly. It says, while parasite biology is not for the squeamish, the importance of the subject cannot be understated. Ropeworm, a newly discovered intestinal invader, may be one of the most frightening and most overlooked parasites plaguing human health today. Well, that's not true because it doesn't exist, but that's okay. Ropeworm is different from other known parasites like roundworms and tapeworms in that they resemble human feces and intestinal lining. That's because they, in fact, are human feces and intestinal lining, Dr. Group. And that is why they are different, is because parasites like roundworms and tapeworms are, in fact, parasites, and ropeworms are, in fact, not. So Dr. Gubarev and Dr. Volinsky, neither one being a medical doctor or even a doctor of any type of health-related field, they are actually mechanical engineers, and the other one is in occupational safety. So again, these were researchers who first introduced the parasite at the 2013 International Chronic Disease Conference. And they estimate that every human being may be infected with some type of ropeworm. Well, yes, that is true. If you irritate the gut of any human, they will in fact excrete something that looks like your so-called ropeworms. So if anybody out there is a human and you have a intestinal tract, yes, you could in fact exhibit their so-called ropeworm. So what are ropeworms? Rope parasites are often mistaken for decayed food matter, which is feces, or intestinal lining. Of course, that's what they are. They were discovered following a routine enema cleanse, which, by the way, the enemas that they were using were definitely not routine. Holding them for that long and with using eucalyptus leaves and lemon juice is a little harsh. Actually, it's a lot harsh. So that's not a routine like semi-water, even a coffee enema, which I think are completely fine and can be very beneficial. Okay, so they were tested to contain human DNA. So again, these ropeworms were tested for their DNA, and they found out that, oh wait, there was no parasite DNA. They didn't find any, wasn't related to a tapeworm or a roundworm. It was actually human DNA. That is because it is in fact the lining of your intestines being shed. Think about like a sausage casing. It's like a tube, right? So that's what's being like kind of the inner part is being shut out. And that's what you're losing. And what occurs is a lot of people that are doing these cleanses are like, oh my gosh, I'm getting results. I need to get aggressive. I need to do more. And they keep doing more and more. And then they end up with ulcerations and lacerations in their colon. And then goodness gracious, as I already stated, that can lead to very serious infections. So I want to give the warning out there to people that are experiencing this. Do your research, speak with a real health provider and not just with some, buddy that has a slick website and, seems convincing because they have some testimonials and some people are showing you their excrement. This is definitely not safe to be doing this. So, of course, anyway, it says, and this is a true statement, it's estimated that 1 in 4 people are infected with intestinal parasites, and that is definitely a true statement. There are so many different types of parasites, various types of tapeworms, and we are not addressing them as, a collective in the United States. We ignore it, but you can get it from eating sushi, very, very common. Please see my other videos. I go into detail on that. If you eat undercooked meat like beef, you get that rare steak, medium rare steak, you're putting yourself at risk. And of course, beef or pork that's undercooked is a big risk factor, but you can also get it from contaminated fruits and vegetables. Animals do go to the restroom in the garden or in the field, and if they're not properly washed, you can in fact become contaminated or infected rather from the contaminated soil or the contamination actually on the greens or your fruits. So keep that in mind. And of course, the pork tapeworm can be transmitted from human to human. And there's various ways, with other protozoans, contaminated water, from your cats, from your pets, you can go on and on. So anyway, definitely if you have any health issues that are not being resolved, please speak to your doctor about the potential of having parasites. Okay, it goes on to say symptoms vary and include weight gain or loss, headaches, indigestion, rashes, increased cold and flu incidence. That's true because it does weaken your immune system. And the weaker your immune system is, the more susceptible you are to parasites. And with the case of Toxoplasma gondii, which is a protozoan parasite transmitted by cats, it actually will lay in a dormant state in your body for years. And if you become immune compromised, it will actually manifest and come out at that time. It's very opportunistic in that manner. And then you'll have a double whammy. And of course, tapeworms and other intestinal parasites can lead to cancer because it's toxifying your body and it's actually stealing your nutrition, which are 2 known ways that cancer can manifest. I mean, we need a healthy immune system and we need to not have a toxic blood. We need our liver and kidneys to be functioning properly. And if you are loaded with parasites excreting their excrement in you for weeks, months, and even years, you are going to be at a higher risk for such things. That's just called logic and common sense. Anyway, Dr. Group's article goes on to say that many theories have been proposed to explain the presence of ropeworms in the human intestinal tract. Ropeworms may be a biofilm that forms in the intestines. Support any evidence of that? No, of course not. Worms may be the overabundance or accumulation of mucus in the intestinal tract. Well, I can tell you one thing, those enemas will definitely cause some mucus. Your body produces mucus as a way to protect itself and get rid of the irritating agent. That's why your nose runs whenever you come into contact with dust and other things. Your body's trying to get it out and it's trying to put a barrier between you, the cells like of your skin, and the outside world. And anyway, and it says it could be linked to candida infection, which is an overgrowth of yeast fungus. And it says could be the root cause of ropeworms. Again, I'm not sure how that would even work out, but hey, they got that one down too. And of course, it says ropeworms may be a byproduct of genetically modified organisms present in food. Perhaps the altered DNA from GMOs have combined with human intestinal cells and bacteria to form a new life form. Oh, right. Well, there's no support of that. I am not a fan of GMOs. I never have been. I try to avoid them as much as possible. I don't eat any soy. I don't eat corn because I don't really want to take the risk they have cross-contamination. And, I think those are things that are best left, to not be in my body. And, of course, the pesticides they're putting on them cannot be a good thing. And it says here that the last area is perhaps the most alarming, making an organic, all-natural diet a possible protective measure against parasite infections. Not really. That's a theory, but again, you can have an organic, all-natural diet, and that is not going to protect you from parasites. Not really. I mean, you can still drink contaminated water that has get some giardia, or you can eat some, all natural wild caught salmon and still get intestinal parasites. So let's not go too far with making claims on this about things that actually are not true. And again, it says that the mature ropeworms can grow over 1 meter long. Well, that makes sense. Your colon is about 6 feet long, and having a regular cylindrical, I can't say the word, cylindrical or rope-like shape. You think with a math degree I'd be able to pronounce that. Anyway, but I can't. Their color is often a dark brown, similar to that of feces. That's because it's actually encapsulating feces, and that's why it would look like that. When expelled from the body and exposed to air, they produce a distinct and off-putting odor. You mean like feces? Yeah, that would be true. Some have speculated that the parasite in ropeworms causes the human gut to make a body for it as a vehicle through the intestinal tract, one containing a mixture of parasite and human cells. Wow, that's crazy sounding. Researchers report that mature ropeworms affix themselves to the colon wall with the help of suction cup-like bubbles. Okay. You'll see that they have no reproduction system because there's no such thing. Food substances have been found in the remains of ropeworms, of course, because that's actually what they are. They're feces and intestinal cells and mucus, suggesting these parasites may prevent nutrient absorption. Ropeworms have also been shown to release toxins in the body as a waste product. No, they haven't been shown to do that. They don't exist. They are actually just fecal matter. And people with ropeworms may experience bloating, gas, frequent illness, headaches, indigestion, heightened allergies, and back pain. Now, definitely people with parasites, like true parasites, will have it. Most people that are doing these enemas are trying to treat a parasitic infection, and then they get this, and this actually could make them sicker, because if you do any tears in your intestinal wall, you are actually going to cause more problems. And again, this is, we have to realize that a lot of the parasites don't live in the colon. I mean, some do, but most like to live in the small intestines. I mean, the intestinal flukes, most of them like to harbor in your duodenum. That's the top part of your small intestines. The tapeworms like to affix themselves as well close to the top, because that's where all the nutrients are, and they're getting all of the food. And they like to be in the upper right portion of your abdomen. And again, the different worms are going to be where they can get the best nutrition. It's less nutrition in the colon. Everything's been pretty much been pre-digested, and it's a waste products. Now, that being said, of course, pinworms will go into the colon, and they will come out through the thing and actually lay their eggs. So, of course, you can have them in your colon. I'm not stating that, but they're actually all through the intestinal tract, and different species like to be in different parts. Alrighty. And it says, the researchers have noted that 15% of cancers are related to parasites, and some studies have shown that intestinal parasitic infections can negatively affect mental performance. Well, of course, if you have parasites, it's going to affect your performance. It's going to mess with your serotonin, which a lot of that is produced in your intestinal tract, in your gut. And, of course, we know that probiotics and having a healthy gut microbiome is actually tied to having a good mood. Plus, if you're having parasites that are having you have food cravings, you might not be making the best choices, eating more sugary foods, and that can actually disrupt your mood as well. And it does take away your energy, and that's not going to make you feel good. I definitely know what that's like. I mean, I used to have absolutely zero energy whenever I was heavily infected, and that was, it was difficult. There's things you want to do and you can't get done, and you start feeling overwhelmed. All right, how to remove them. Now, again, remember, these are not real, so take this with a grain of salt. According to the researchers, coffee enemas are one of the most effective ways to remove ropeworms. Other procedures thought to work well are probiotic enemas, milk enemas, water fasting, cleansing, juice cleanses, and large servings of vitamin C. A little warning on large servings of vitamin C. If you're using ascorbic acid or sodium ascorbate, you are actually not doing the best for your body. Ascorbic acid is not a true form of vitamin C, and your body at certain doses will try to rid itself of it, because it's actually hitting like a toxic maximum load, and you will experience diarrhea. And sodium ascorbate is buffered, so it's gentler on the stomach, But unfortunately, it actually has a large amount of sodium. So if you're on a sodium restrictive diet, that is not a thing that you want to be consuming lots of. There's a protocol out there put forth by another person who claims to be providing health information and in fact is providing a very dangerous protocol. And her cleanse is actually based on a vitamin C, that is sodium ascorbate, at such a high rate that whenever I did the calculations of it, just the morning dose that one would take would exceed the daily limit that is for safety. I think we're supposed to have 2,300 milligrams as a maximum, and it is well beyond that. And if you're on a sodium restricted diet, I think it's about 1,600 milligrams. And it was absolutely, to have all that all at once is very dangerous for many, many reasons. So if you're someone that's considering the vitamin C, cleanse protocol, please do your research on that, because it can definitely have some negative consequences. All right. And of course it says to avoid GMOs. I can agree with that. Sugar, sure. Switch it out. Have some raw honey. It's good stuff. Molasses, like the blackstrap, organic, good stuff. Some real maple syrup. Can't go wrong with that. And, and limit it. And have fruit. Fruit's delicious. And of course wheat. I was diagnosed with celiac disease. I do not have that. Get rid of the fish tapeworm, and you might be able to eat a lot of foods that you were sensitive to or actually, completely intolerant of. I have no food intolerances anymore once I was able to get rid of the parasites. So, but I do sympathize with people that have those. I know how hard it is to actually try to be dealing with gluten intolerance and dairy issues and sugar imbalances. All right, so I just wanted to show you his website. You can definitely check it out. He has some references. And then we're going to quickly go to this website here. This does have some pictures, so sorry. Should have said that faster. So anyway, sorry about that. So it just has some pictures. I'm going to try to fast forward through there. And this is just talking about, this person is definitely showing that these are in fact a joke, and it's absolutely ridiculous. He does call the people out for, they don't publish in a peer-reviewed journal. We're going to find that the article it's available online, but it's not ever published, because no true journal would ever publish this, because it's nonsense. And again, the lead author is a mechanical engineer. None of the authors have any credentials that would indicate any level of expertise in the relevant areas of study, and it definitely shows. You can read through this about how they have all the different stages. This is absolutely, it's just crazy. We might as well start talking about Bigfoot and other things that are actually just urban legends and myths at this point. They also go on to say things that are absolutely crazy, and I guess the Gubarev, he's the one that has the patent on the enema, by the way. If that's not a conflict of interest, I don't know what is. And I don't even know how you have a patent on an enema. But anyway, I'm not going to be doing one with eucalyptus leaves and lemon juice at those in any way, shape, or form anyway, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, so he tells us that people with alkaline blood, a pH of 8 to 10, are the most susceptible. Well, that's strange, because if you have a pH of 8 to 10, like this person says, you would be dead. Your blood pH needs to be very closely regulated, and that's just slightly alkaline, so it's a little bit above 7. And so that's just ridiculous to even talk about things like that. And so as you'll go on to see that this is actually, there's no support of this. It's clear that this is in fact just the irritation of the intestinal tract by the agents that they put in their enemas. And very, very, be very cautious of jumping on the first thing, no matter how convincing the speaker is of saying, oh, this will cure everything and this will get rid of that and this and the other. It is likely, if it sounds too good to be true, it likely is. Definitely be skeptical, because there are so many people out there that, it's nothing new. Their snake oil salesmen have been around for centuries, and they continue to be around. And what makes those type of people very effective is that they're usually very charismatic, and they can sell. And just be careful of that because it is your health. I mean, if they're selling you something, silly that doesn't, necessarily compromise your health, then okay, that's, then you lose a little money. But if you're taking something that could cause damage to the body, that could be, very serious or severe, that's not something we want to be dealing with. So definitely, just keep in mind that, like this guy says, ropeworm parasites, there's no such critter. This is just another example of the fallible human brain's susceptibility to delusions and illusions, and is reminiscent of N-rays, of the liver flukes that Hulda Clark zapped. Now, Hulda Clark, I'm not going to say, she's passed on. Liver flukes do exist. We know that you can go to the CDC website and look at those. Intestinal flukes do exist, and liver flukes. Now, whether her zapper works, I don't know. I've never used a zapper, and she does have a tincture that does use wormwood, black walnut, and cloves, and those are 3 very effective herbs for treating parasites. I don't think that they can be used as the only ones. I think garlic is a really great one, and boosts your immune system, and has a lot of other potential health benefits as well. And there's just numerous other foods that when I'm doing my cleanses, I incorporate. I'm using pumpkin seeds, I'm using cayenne pepper and hot sauces and carrots and green juices and pineapples and papayas with the papaya seeds and just various things. I'm mixing it up and doing all kinds of healthy ways, using the seeds from fennel seeds and caraway seeds, carom seeds, things that are real food as much as possible. And, cinnamon, using Ceylon cinnamon, and ginger and turmeric, which have been shown to have effective in real science-based research to be effective against different types of parasites. And, of course, adding, additional cloves and using tinctures, which, again, sticking with brands that I trust, that have actually been on the market for a long time, and, not just popped up overnight, oh my goodness, the next best thing. And things like wormwood, they do have some toxicity issues, so be careful with that. And, definitely talk to a healthcare provider or a, qualified herbalist for more information on that. Again, gross pictures, ropeworms.com. They got you covered everywhere, it seems. And here, again, we'll go real fast to the pictures. This is the actual article. Again, it's not from a journal. It's just a PDF that's out online. So again, this is not peer-reviewed. And again, the article's authors their credentials are listed here. Again, none relate to medicine, nutrition, or parasitology. I'm not saying that you need to have a degree in nutrition to know about nutrition. You can self-study and know more than most medical doctors because they don't really get trained in it. So I'm not saying that at all. But again, it's not their credentials of being a mechanical engineer that makes them unqualified. It's actually the content of the article that shows they're unqualified. All right. You can read this article. Again, it's just absolutely just talks about the stages, and there is no such thing. Here, this Funis Parasitic. This is the Latin name, which literally just translates to rope parasite. A lot of Latin names of tapeworms and stuff actually have a Latin name that actually don't translate to English, but since they discovered it, they just translated it back to Latin using the actual literal translation. And it's just a joke. The one thing I do want to note on this article, which is really interesting, we read the introduction, and that's where the first citation is. And it says human parasitic worms are classified as nematodes, which are known as roundworms. One thing on roundworms, you'll hear someone say, I had a roundworm infection, and they'll talk about a specific type. There are literally 25,000 known types of roundworms, and that's just a huge class. But oftentimes, so you can have different types of roundworms. Pinworms are actually a roundworm, and so there's so many. It's just really crazy. And then that means that they're actually rounder in nature, hence the name, and they're called nematodes. And then there's the cestodes and the trematodes, and those are known as flatworms because they layer flatter. That's the flukes and the tapeworms. And the monogeanins, and I think I pronounced that completely wrong, and I truthfully don't know what that is. But I'll look it up when I'm done. Anyway, that's the first citation. And all the other citations, which we're going to go right to the references. So just bear with me as I flash down through this article. I want to skip the pictures because they are gross. Okay, good. We got to the bottom. Not trying to make anybody nauseous. So when we look at a research article, you know, when we're doing as a person who's reading it and we're conducting our own independent research, we really need to look at their references. And it's always a red flag is when the references are citing themselves. Okay, the authors are citing themselves in the reference section. So as we see, the first citation was about the definition of different types of parasites. Okay, well, that again doesn't really relate to your article. That's fantastic. But if we look at the second citation, it's actually the authors of the article are citing themselves. So second citation is themselves. Third citation, fourth citation, fifth citation, sixth citation. What? That's ridiculous. Okay, so it seems 6 of the 9 references, which for any real research paper, or it's actually 8 citations. Is that correct? Yeah, 8 citations. So it appears that 5 of the 8 are themselves. Okay, that's pretty ridiculous. If you're doing a research paper and you're doing a real article, go to a peer-reviewed journal and look at all the citations. I mean, you will get much more than 8, I will tell you that, if it is a well-researched and very, a reliable and a valid study. Again, whenever you have 5 of the 8 being the author of the article, that is very suspect. You're citing yourself as an authority, and you actually have no expertise in the subject. And then, of course, the other thing they have is, do intestinal worms impair mental performance? Again, that's not supporting the fact that ropeworms exist, because there's no other research out there that even suggests this is real, because they are not real. Because it is, in fact, just a result of putting an aggravating agent into your intestines and causing your body to produce mucus and expel the lining of your intestinal tract. That's all. And you can go here. It seems that this is a web page, and they talk a little bit more about the how he has the patents. And here's actually the enema, which is absolutely ridiculous. You're supposed to hold the enema for 15 to 20 minutes, and which is crazy. And it's a long time. After release, administer another enema with 200 ml of lemon juice. Oh, I hope you're actually diluting that. And then follow with a 2-liter water enema. Ooh, if you're doing 200 milliliters of lemon juice straight, ouch. And when I had read this earlier, I thought you were supposed to hold the enema for 2 to 3 hours. But that's actually, you're soaking the eucalyptus leaves. So again, you're still only holding it for 15 to 20 minutes, but that's still a very long time. For this type of enema, it can be done. I do coffee enemas and hold them that long. So follow this with 2 liters of, again, that can be done as well. But still, this is ridiculous. He has a patent on this. How you patent an enema is crazy. What are you supposed to do? Consult him? Because he came up with an idea. Anyway, that being said, be careful with stuff that you read online. Make sure you do your own research, and please check with qualified sources. Talk to your healthcare provider. Talk to a qualified herbalist. Do your independent research. Check sites that are known to be reputable and have good information. Discuss things with people that are qualified, and please use your intuition and your common sense. Again, you can check out more about his enema patent, and of course here is the same thing actually over again. Anyway, I really appreciate your time. I hope this helped clear up the misconception about the human ropeworm, and I hope that the people that are out there claiming that this exists hear this video and actually start giving real information to their patients, because I feel that they're doing potential harm, and people are suffering with parasites And when someone, sees this and they go to their doctor and say, I have a human ropeworm, their doctor is going to laugh at them. And that is not a good thing for anybody to, feel disrespected. When people have parasites, they know it. And if they call it by the wrong name, and if the doctor, thinks they're just being silly, it can really actually cause, them to feel even more isolated and afraid, because they're really, when you're dealing with parasites, something's wrong. It's very frightening not to have answers and to basically, feel like you don't know where to turn and you really want to feel better. And I know that the symptoms of a parasitic infection firsthand, and they are very serious. I mean, I couldn't even explain to people how bad the joint pain was. And I would wake up in the morning and I would want to just put my hands and my arms in the freezer just for some relief. And I would run my hands and arms under cold water. It was just horrible. I definitely understand that. So if you're out there and you're suffering from those type of situations, IBS, irritable bowel, don't go off and run and think it's SIBO. I mean, SIBO has the same exact symptoms as parasites. Treat parasites. Talk to a doctor about parasites. There again, there seems to be all of this information out there with all of these people, selling these diets on SIBO and all this, and they're not addressing parasites. You need to address parasites first. These are real, we are exposed to them every single day, and clear that out. If you have Lyme disease, in my opinion, you should look at parasites first. You need your body as healthy as possible, and one of the best ways to deal with parasites is strengthen the host. Make sure your immune system is functioning as properly as possible. Have clean air, clean water, great food, lots of fruits and vegetables. Try to get your stress down. Do things that make you happy, whatever that may be. Definitely, try to take those things and keep those things in mind. And anyway, peace and love. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. And if you want to donate to my channel, you can. I have a PayPal account and a Patreon account. I would appreciate it. But if not, I just want to get the message out. That's really my goal. I do this in my spare time just to help people, and because I know how hard it can be to be battling a parasitic infection, especially when it's causing other health issues, which it will. It can, cause a whole host. Check out my other videos. I talk about the connection between B12 deficiency, which is definitely, there's no question that is a common thing if someone is infected with fish tapeworms. And anyway, have a great one, and out of here. Thanks.